Anybody else before we start? Get started. So I had a chance to look through the homework. I know there's a few areas, like especially with the project, that some people are still not clear on. So focusing more of my time today just talking about the different projects and making sure that you guys understand what those are. Um, so what is IT audit? By this time, you should know what IT audit is, but if you don't, or if you're still not clear, so what we do as IT auditors, we are one independently reviewing or testing or examining evidence that we get out of a system to determine those evidence are if the system is safeguard assets. When we talk about assets in IT audit, assets can be information or data that's coming out of the system. Assets can be money. Assets can be security. So we're testing these information system because companies are relying on those they're using for to record their financial information, their performance and things of that nature. So as part of our testing, we're testing to make sure that these these systems are they safe? Can you trust them to reduce the risk that comes with the business that you do? And then the second one, also testing to make sure the information that's coming out of these systems are they accurate? Can you trust that these information will consistently be accurate, which be accurate and also can be relied upon, which deals more with data integrity. And then the last part is the last objective of why we test is to make sure that is the business able to meet their business objective, and not only are you able to meet your business objective, but how effective and how efficient are you meeting it. And lastly, are they in compliance with rules and regulations? Okay. Any questions on that? Question, just make sure you unmute yourself. Can you hear me? I think she might be having a problem. Courtney, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Um,
Thank you.
so the types of IT audit, okay? So there's a difference between the project and the types of IT audit, okay? In the homework, there was a question on what are the types slash categories of IT audit. IT audit, okay? And some people listed the project, some people listed SOX, attestation engagement, some people listed SOX, compliance audit, operational audit. Those are the projects that falls under either one of these categories. When we talk about IT audit types, we talk about what are the umbrellas that these projects fall under, okay? So we have financial statement audit, and then we have internal audit, and then we have what we call attestation engagement audit. Um, the arrow that you see pointing to IT general and application controls, what this is saying is pretty much that we perform IT general and application controls testing in support of these three types of audit. That clear? Does that make sense? If it doesn't, please ask. Make sure you ask a question so I can either rephrase or give examples. Okay.
It was I was asking about. It's just the way the question was worded. It kind of confused. But thank you.
No problem. Okay. So when we talk about financial statement audit, so financial statement audit is an audit that's performed for publicly traded company or any large companies slash small businesses that are seeking out loans. They're required to provide what's called a financial statement report. So The purpose of providing this report is number one, it's a requirement by the SEC Commission, and then number two is a way of the it's a way that businesses gain credibility over the people that they do business with. So, for example, let's say that the example that we were talking about in class of Google. Google has people who buy their shares, okay? They buy stocks from Google. So in order for Google to really be able to show how they're performing financially or their financial position, they have to hire an independent reviewer, which is like a CPA firm or an external auditor to come in and perform the financial audit, which will then which they will then provide a report, and that report is distributed to different stakeholders. One of those stakeholders is the SEC, who is the one who pretty much like the police over these publicly traded company to make sure that they're in compliance, to make sure that there is transparency over their financial performance. Um, two roles that there are two types of auditors when we talk about financial statement audit, okay? We have the financial auditors and then we have the IT auditors, okay? Financial auditors are actually those who are getting information, meaning the numbers that are coming out of the financial systems. Meaning, if a company has, let me draw it up. Can you guys see my screen? So let's say like if a company has different business process, they have payroll, they have finance, they have meaning if they do trading and stuff like that. So when the financial auditors come in, they're coming in to audit the numbers that are coming out of these system. These numbers can be like the people who are actually part of the payroll team or the people who are actually part of the finance trade team, they're registering these numbers on a regular basis in a system. That system might be soft, okay? In order for the financial auditors to rely on the numbers that's coming out of PeopleSoft, they they hire IT auditors, okay? We come in, test the system itself. We test the configuration of the system. We test what we call IT general controls, meaning the controls around how the system is configured to function. So we test these controls with the objective of determining, is this system configured to safeguard the information? Can these information be trusted? And also, is the system configured to be in compliance with rules and regulations of the FCC and also the government, right? So we come in, we test these controls, and at the end of our testing, we generate what we call a summary report that we give to our financial auditors and also we give to the client. Okay, this report pretty much tells them, hey, we looked at these controls. We're attesting that your information system or your IT environment is, and the information that's coming out of it can be trusted. Or the report can say that, hey, because we found so and so issues, you cannot rely on the information that's coming out of these system. Okay. If the report is a positive report meaning that it's a good report where we didn't find any issues that would potentially impact the financial reporting, that would mean that financial auditors can then say, hey, instead of us testing 10 samples, we're going to reduce our sample size to only 5 because we can trust that everything that's coming out of the system is correct. Or if we, the IT auditors, we come in and we're like, hey, by the way, you might want to do your due diligence because we found these issues, tells them to be more cautious, meaning to do what we call substantive testing, to do additional testing for them to get comfort over the accuracy of the numbers that they're seeing in the system. Does that make sense? Confused on that? I'll continue. If you have any question, please do raise the question. So I just want to make sure that we all understand, okay? Um, financial statement is normally financial statement is normally done in two forms, okay? So we financial statement that's done for commercial company. Commercial company is public companies, okay? And also financial statement can also be done for government companies. The only difference between what the public companies are doing versus what the federal government are doing is the framework that they're using to do it, okay? When the commercial company is doing their financial audit, the financial auditors are using what we call GAS, Generally Accepted Accounting Standard, whereas government auditors are using FISCAM, okay? FISCAM is a FISCAM is a framework that the government is using. A framework is pretty much a guidance that tells them what to look for, test.
Is the framework like the spreadsheet in a sense?
Now, so let me show you what a framework would look like. It is a long spreadsheet. A framework is something like this. It's very long, but a framework contains what we call different chapters, and it also contains what we call controls. Okay, so let's say like if you're doing a financial statement audit for a federal agency, a framework will tell you the type of controls that that agency should have in place at a minimum. Also tell you some additional controls that they could implement if they desired. So within this framework, you will see controls around security management. These are all controls that, let's say, like if you were hired on a new client and you don't know where to start, you don't know what controls to look at, you will use the framework as a guide to help you know that they should have in place. So in this case where I told you that the government financial statement audit is done using a FISCAM framework, you would pull up a FISCAM framework. This is a public document. It's nothing private in here. You would pull up a FISCAM framework. In the FISCAM framework, it tells you what control they should have in place. They should have access controls, they should have security management controls, they should have configuration management controls, they should have segregation of duties controls. And then if you continue in the framework, we're getting ahead. We have a section where we cover frameworks and the controls that are frameworks. But if you read ahead, they have like a section that tells you exactly over here. So this is a good example. It tells you the control description, and then it tells you how to audit the control. This is really what the framework does. It's a guide that tells you how to perform the audit. Same thing with the GAS. They call it Generally Accepted Accounting Standard. It tells you the standard that companies should implement to be in compliance with SEC requirement. Does that answer your question?
So it's basically the guideline in a sense to what they should have or what you should do if you really don't know what you're doing for the scope.
Exactly, exactly. That's what it is. It's a guideline. They call it framework, but it's a guideline that tells you it's more for so frameworks are more for the auditors because it tells the auditors what to look for and how to test it. But also, it helps the clients kind of know what the auditors would look for, okay? Meaning that if someone is coming to inspect my house and they have like a guide that's made public that tells me what exactly they're going to look for, guess what? Since I'm the homeowner, I'm gonna go find that guide to really know what they're gonna look for so I can be better prepared, right? That's what the framework does. It tells the auditors what to look for and how to test it. It tells the client what the auditors pretty much what the standard will be that the auditors will be examining against. Miss, I'll take that as a yes. Um, we covered the role of IT auditors in a financial statement audit. So going back to this, we IT auditors, we come in to audit the financial systems, okay? We come in to audit the financial systems that are generating these numbers that the financial auditors are looking at. We audit the system and we give them assurance that the system is secure and can be trusted. It reduces the amount of work that they have to do and it also saves them money. But if you tell them that, hey, the system is not safe and cannot be trusted, it gives them a heads up for them to do what we call substantive testing, which will cost them more resource and would cost them money. Most times they involve the IT auditors because we save them time that they would be doing the work. That's it for financial statement audit. So going down to internal audit. So one of the questions that was on the homework was, what are the different types of internal audit project? And some people said risk management, internal control development, internal control testing, and monitoring of operational processes. And that was wrong. Think of the types of internal audit project is different from the responsibilities of an internal audit department, okay? Audit department is pretty much department or an extended body of a company that's responsible to make sure that they're monitoring risk related activities within the company, meaning that they're there to help the companies identify the risk that they're being exposed to and helping them lower those risks by developing controls, testing those controls, and also do what we call monitoring of the controls to make sure that it's still working and reducing risk. This over here, this of this as like your job responsibility, okay? It's not project. Um, when we start talking about project, think of project as like think of actually sorry, let's go back. Think of this as like the objective of an internal audit department, meaning what are they looking to achieve? Okay? And think of the project as how are they achieving these objectives? How are they achieving the objective of identifying risk, reducing risk, developing controls, testing controls, and monitoring the operational process? It's by executing these various audits, okay? Is that clear? Going to the internal audit project. Um, I'm gonna ask questions, so I hope you're all paying attention. So the different type of internal audit project. The first one we have what we call SOX audit. SOX is pretty much it's a law slash act, Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. So this was a requirement that was placed after a lot of fraud happened with a lot of financial institutions. And so this requires companies to internally report on their perform on their financial performance. Normally, it's done on a quarterly basis, and also it requires like directors, VPs of companies to disclose their investment portfolios to make sure that there's no fraudulent activities on how they're investing money and where they're investing their money. Meaning that they shouldn't be using the company's money to invest in their own um, investment, pretty much. So that's what the SOX Act was put in place, and so to make sure that companies are in compliance with the SOX regulations, we do what we call SOX testing, SOX or SOX audit, where we test internal controls around the financial systems, also the financial activities that they do, meaning financial processes like um, finance, those other financial process within a company. All of those are tested on a periodic basis, and then um, it's reported out to the management board of a company. Also, when financial auditors come out to do their financial statement audit, they're also looking to see, have you completed your SOX audit? And if they have, normally the financial statement auditors want to look at those report too as well. Okay. So the difference between SOX and financial statement audit is that SOX is done by internal auditors, whereas financial statement audit by external auditors. Guys, I'm having some sound problem. Give me a second. Okay. Caleb, you had a question. Can you ask your question?
Absolutely.
So what was your question?
No, I didn't have a question. I thought you were going to ask me a question.
No, no, no. There's a question here that says, I think it's asked by Caleb. How would you use the project in an interview question? What do you mean by that?
Caleb. Yeah, go for it, Caleb. It's all you.
I was basically wondering, like, how would you? There's an interview question that you have at the bottom of the PowerPoint, asking about where is it? Uh, what projects you use some day, something like that. I don't remember it, but yeah, how would you go about selecting which projects to speak on?
Um, so I would say like that's a personal preference. But I would always advise that. So through the class, we learn a lot of projects. Okay. The expectation is not for you to know the ins and out of all of these projects. Because remember, this is like 3 years worth of experience that we're putting in you. So the expectation is that pick at least like three of these that you feel more comfortable speaking on. Let's say like if I feel more comfortable speaking on socks, obviously we will get into details on how these projects are executed. This is just an introduction course. Um, let's say like once we get through the class and you feel more comfortable speaking on socks, during the interview, when they ask you what project have you worked on, you would answer, I've performed IT audit in support of SOX testing where I tested so and so controls.
Hmm.
Or you can say I have experience performing operational audit, compliance audit, and audit readiness in support of internal audit. Or I was part of an internal audit department where we performed operational audit, compliance audit, and audit readiness. So as far as like the what project do you select to speak on when the question is asked, I think it's more just based on how comfortable are you answering questions on
Okay.
any of these, right? Because it's think of it as like a blanket question that get asked on. It's up to you to really support your answer, right? So you don't want to pick something that you're not comfortable drilling down on. Because let's say like if The first question would be, what project do you have experience working on? The next question would be, can you give me examples on how you executed that project? You get what I'm saying? So if you answer, if the first answer that you give is I performed SOX audit, the follow-up question would be, can you talk through how you executed the SOX audit? Have to be able to answer that. If you're not able to answer that, then you should probably not say SOX. You should probably say either financial statement audit or operational audit or something or another project that you feel more comfortable speaking on.
Okay.
And this is Abdul, by the way. Would you recommend that we only pick one or two that we can heavily speak on, or do you think three would be a good amount?
I would say I would say learn everything, be familiar with everything because if I say only three, you only gonna focus on the three and you
No, no,
might
this
get
is just
surprised.
this is just for me. Like personally, I already know which ones I'm gonna pick to speak on, so I'm just asking, just so you
Yeah,
can
I
speak
would
on it
say
more.
so I would say that depending on the route that you always want to take is look at the job description. What is the job looking for? If the job description is looking for SOX, financial statements, et cetera, you want to tailor your resume to reflect those projects. So if I'm interviewing for a role that's speaking more on SOX, guess what? The project that I'm gonna focus on studying would be SOX. But
Facts. Okay.
if I'm submitting my resume for compliance audit projects, guess what? You want to make sure that you focus on compliance audit.
Okay, so and the different projects. So SOX would be more of an internal, or is it more of an external audit type of audit project?
Okay, so when you look at the when you look here, you see that SOX is going to be internal, right?
So this are all internal
These
projects.
are all internal projects. Now, I just want to add a little bit to what Rebecca said. If you, it depends on what you want to do. Um, some people want to do external projects. Some people want to do internal projects. Internal projects, you know that there's SOX, there's government audits. Okay, so there's this one, there's OMB, right?
Okay.
And then there's operational audit, right?
Right.
Compliance. You see that there's audit readiness. There's FISMA compliance. So depending on what you want to do, you you focus on what you want to do. And if say you're looking for internal audit jobs or internal audit positions, you make sure that you focus on of these projects. Just know them.
Okay.
Usually, also you don't want to be everywhere. So know a little bit about everything so that you can speak on it. Then when they ask you, so what were you doing? Then you start drilling down on the ones that you're familiar with. Does that help? So know a little bit of everything, but drill down on like,
So when they do ask you to speak on it, you can just say, okay, well, on the SOX side, yeah. Okay.
Quick question. This is Frank. For Nana and Rebecca, can you either, I don't know if you guys can briefly right now or at the end, briefly give us an example of how would you guys answer it if you guys were asked?
Yes. So how to answer the question of what project have you worked on? So it's like a long. So let me go to classroom. So we have a section here where let me see which one is it. Okay. So this will be shared in due time. So we have a doc at the end of the class, we provide a document. This is a project and clients document that gives you an outline of literally how to answer for different type of project. Actually, we're going to get to that section where we start talking about they ask you about OMB 123, how to answer that. If they ask you about PCI DSS, how to answer that. But that's more at the interview phase.
yeah, think we're jumping ahead of ourselves by asking too many questions. I'd suggest us write these questions down. At the end of the day, or at the end of the by the time we get somewhere half into the middle of the course, you have a lot of answers to these questions. And then the ones that we don't answer, draw attention to them. If it's something that we want to push ahead so that we get to a certain part of the course before we start answering them, that way you don't get confused. Because I realize that when you ask when we ask certain questions, it's to make us rush and we go ahead, and then you become confused on the little that we've already started, right? So just take it all in. If you have any questions, write them down, right? Unless the questions pertain to what we're covering or what we're talking about. If it doesn't, and like if it's about interviewing or if it's about resume building or if it's about, all that, just write it down. Make sure you write them down. Make sure you ask us, right? Is that cool?
Yep. Yep.
At the end of the day, we don't want to confuse you by jumping too much ahead. We just want to make sure you get what you have to get. Then later on, we'll help you apply what you have learned. So yeah, let's I don't know if that helps. Is that a good
Yeah,
way
that helps. That helps.
All right, let's continue. So the next type of internal audit project is OMB Circular A123. This project has the same requirement as the SOX, where um, the government, the federal financial departments, they have to disclose their financial performance, and also like members who the reporting members of the company need to also disclose on where they're investing their money and things of that nature. The only difference between SOX and OMB 123 is that SOX is normally for private, um, public companies, whereas like OMB 123 is strictly federal. It's more government, and they use a different framework. SOX uses what we call the COBIT framework as a guide, whereas like OMB 123 uses FISCAM framework.
When we talk about socks, OMB, think of rugby and American football. Realize that they're similar, right? Right.
Right.
Realize that they're similar, but the rules are different. So think of socks as American football, and then think of OMB as rugby. The rules of the games are different. The frameworks are different, but they are all doing one thing, which is similar. They are doing what? Financial reporting. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yep, and also like so when we these things will make more sense when we start testing, because we test similar controls for both of them. The only thing is just that how they get reported on is different. So FISCAM may have more controls than COBIT. COBIT may have more controls than FISCAM. Maybe how the controls are worded is different, and like things like that. The next project that we want to talk about is operational project. Operational audit focuses more on how the business is operating, how they're able to meet their business objective. It looks at the efficiency and effectiveness of how they're executing their business. Meaning, if their business objective is to sell loans or sell car insurance, you're looking at they actually able to sell those car insurance? How many car insurance are they able to sell within maybe like a period of time? You compare to their competitors. Can they execute the process more efficiently such that they can beat their competitors and generate a higher revenue? So it's more operational in the sense that you're looking at the different departments within the company, helping them judgment on how they can better their execution of their process. Okay, does that make sense? Slightly different from SOX, whereas like with SOX you have a lot of regulations and a lot of um more of SOX is a law, it must be done without like there's no budging room. Whereas like operational audit, it's more you can it's not too structured in a sense. Like they don't tell you how to do it. The business decides what process they want to focus on. They decide how they would even, if let's say like if the audit department, when they give their findings or when they give their final report, the business gets to decide what they want to do. They can choose to, hey, we agree with the recommendations that you found and we're going to implement it, or they can choose to be like, hey, thank you for this, but it's really not the best time for us to implement what you're telling us. So operational audit is more flexible.
Seven.
I don't even know.
Hello?
Maybe they're gonna come back.
Yeah, hopefully.
Wi-Fi connection low.
Hello? I'm listening. I mean, what happened?
I don't think I don't think they're back yet.
Give it a couple of minutes. They should be back soon.
Start a new chat because right now it says someone else is the host.
Probably join and then take control of it. So probably be like a minute or two. I say just, or they'll shoot us an email. Just give it a couple of minutes.
Everyone, sorry, I'm back. The connection, I disconnected for some reason. Internet went down on me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Where last did I leave off? My screen?
And somebody else is presenting.
Yeah,
No.
it's not picking.
Andrew's presenting, or no?
Second, it's my connection. Can you see my screen now?
No.
Give me a second, please. Okay. I think I'm good now. All right. So we're talking about audit readiness. So with audit readiness, this is normally performed. So this is like think of this as like internal audit, getting ready for external audit. That internal audit is doing like a pre-testing before the external auditors come to test. And the objective of doing an audit readiness is to identify and correct any weaknesses in the IT environment before the external auditors come to do their financial statement audit. And then the last project is government FISMA compliance audit. So FISMA is similar in SOX in the sense that FISMA is also an act, meaning it's a law that was passed by the federal government back in 2002. And the intent of this is to pretty much protect government information and assets from like unauthorized access. So the requirements that FISMA has placed is that for anyone who is getting like um, work from getting um, for any company that does business with the government, for any company that receives funds from the government, they have to be able to show proof that they can protect the disclosure, modification, and destruction of any government information, okay? And in order to make sure that they're in compliance with that, NIST 853 framework is the framework that gives them a guide on how to be in compliance with with FISMA Act. So this is kind of where you get into the cybersecurity field, field, because like cybersecurity deals more with NIST 853. They have like specific guidelines, specific controls that they have to put in place, and things of that nature. Any question on the internal audit project before we move on? All right. So these are the things to keep in mind few things to keep in mind when you think about internal audit, okay? So when you think about internal audit departments, these are the few things. Internal audit department always needs to have a plan. Think of it as like an objective of what you want to achieve in the year, right? When we all make our beginning of the year like goals, right? So internal audit also has goals. Their goals are these are their objective. So in order to meet these objectives, they use what? They execute them in terms of project, right? Um, and in order to make sure that the project are being carried out effectively, they need what we call an internal audit plan. Internal audit plan is pretty much a document that contains the different types of audit project, um, the period and priority of when those projects will be executed, and the resources needed to execute. During the class, we went over how that looks, and you can always click in the slide over here to see an example of that. And then
Summary, is that like a announcement letter?
it's not different things. Um, Announcement letter is tailored to a specific project. As announcement, let's say like if we're getting ready to kick off a compliance audit, we're gonna put together the announcement letter to send to the team that we're auditing, right? We're doing the compliance audit. Whereas the internal audit plan, this is a yearly plan of all the project that will be executed for that year. Announcement letter is tailored towards a specific project. Internal audit plan, uh, document that lists out the project. It lists out the project, budget, the hours, and the scope of the work, like a summary scope of the work, like the so whereas like the announcement letter is tailored more towards one single project that's getting ready to kick off. A good example of how the two works together is like this. So let's just say that so Q4 just started, right? And let's say for Q4 I am doing this compliance audit. This and the scope is that assess conformance with policy and guidance related to procurement activities under the fair wage, fair work plan. Okay. So like a form of a compliance audit. The hours are 100 hours. So before I get started on this, I'm gonna put together my announcement letter, letting the team that's responsible for handling this type of work know that, hey, by the way, we've selected your process, as it relates to fair wage, fair work system, blah, 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 blah. And then in that announcement letter, we're letting them know that, hey, this is the scope of our work. These are the team members who will be assigned to the job, and these are the hours that it's going to take us to accomplish 100 hours. Let us know if you have any questions. That's what the announcement letter entails. Whereas, like the project plan, like it has the scope for the whole year. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Where I was. And then going down to the audit program. So the audit program takes, so in that case, let's say that we selected that audit to do, right? So once we send out the announcement letter, we will then choose our audit program. The audit program is pretty much detailed steps of how to execute the audit. Okay. So from planning to reporting, it tells you the steps on what to do. For instance, in the planning, it tells you prepare an audit engagement letter, distribute it to appropriate management, fill out these sections, done by the person who did it, the date of when it was completed, evidence that it was completed. Okay, hold an opening meeting with management. So this is the intent of an audit program. It's how are you executing your project? What steps are you taking to get the work done?
An order like from the audit plan to the audit program. Is there like is it step one? This is the audit plan, or is this just like overall like just a definition of what each of them are? Is-
Yeah, there is an order. So there is an order. So when we get into the IT audit process, that's where the order will come in place. So, but
Okay.
in this case, since we're talking about it, think about it this way, right? When we start the year starts with Q1, right? Before the year
Right.
starts, you need to put together the plan of what are you looking to get done in 2020, right? Before you even get it done, right?
Right.
Audit plan is. So the audit plan is always the first thing that you put together. It's your plan for the year. Okay? When the time comes to execute the project, and let's say like for Q1 we have um, a compliance audit selected for Q1. Before you even start testing those people, you need to make them aware that they're getting tested. So that's where the announcement letter comes in place. Announcement letter is to pretty much make them aware that, hey, by the way, we're going to start auditing you and we're doing a compliance audit.
Okay.
This is what to expect.
Would that be in between the audit program and the internal audit plan, like somewhere in between there?
What do you mean somewhere in between there?
If you have an internal audit plan, so you basically have, okay, these are all the IT the IT projects that we have for this year, correct? And then before you start carrying out all those projects, you have to inform. Um, so you would send out the announcement letter in between that, and then after that, you would do the audit program to know exactly what you're
Exactly.
going to what projects you're gonna test the controls. I'm sorry, I'm trying to use the right terminology here.
You're good, you're good. Yeah, but you're on the right track. So when you pick when the time comes and it's time to perform that particular audit, you send out the announcement letter, let them know that, hey, by the way, we're gonna be auditing you, and this is the time, this is when you can expect the audit to start, right? And then you can even, if let's say that you don't even know the order and you just pick up the audit program, the audit program itself will tell you what the first step will do should be, right? It tells you prepare an audit engagement letter over here. You see that? Tells you what the first step would be, because before you even start auditing the clients, they have to know that they're getting audited. So that's always like, apart from the audit plan, which is a yearly plan, when you start thinking about execution, announcement letter or the engagement letter is always the first thing that gets sent out before you even start doing the work.
Now, do you know in advance, would you know, since you have experience, would you know in advance, while in the audit plan, of which projects you're going to be testing in the year, the upcoming year?
And so, like I was talking about in class, normally like mid Q4, like, so right now we're in Q4. So we're going to start putting together our plan for 2020. So by end of Q4, before people go on holiday, we would already know that start January, these are the process that we're going to be testing.
So essentially around Q3, you would start winning new contracts for the upcoming quarter.
Um, so in in internal audit, you don't really have to win work because you're working for that. Like
Yeah.
it's an internal department of a company. So so it's not, you don't have to win any work. You just have to put together the plan by doing a risk assessment. So let's say like right now we're in Q4, right? And normally you have a list of all the processes that the company has. So what we do is we go through the work that we've done. We look at the areas that experienced challenge within the past few years, and then we determine, hey, based on the risk exposure of these areas, where within the plan should we place them? If it's a low criticality area, meaning like the area doesn't really have a lot of issues or concerns, um, can you please mute your phone for me? I got it. If the area doesn't really have a lot of concern, we may choose to push it to Q4 of 2020. But if we figure that, hey, this area is about to be audited by external auditors, we may want to push it to Q1. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I was actually mixing up the internal audit and external. So my mindset for some reason is going external when we're still on internal auditing. So
Yeah, external, on the other hand, it's different. So with external audit, it's more fixed. It's fixed in the sense that like you don't need an audit plan with external audit. With external audit, it's pretty much based on the need of the work that's being won. Meaning like if they placed me on the on the sorry, with external audit, normally CPA firms, they have a specific group that's responsible for placing you on projects. So you don't even get to dictate what project you're going to be on. I mean, you do have a say, meaning like if I want to work on federal related project, I'll just let them know that hey, my interest is federal related project. When the work comes, can you just make sure you put me on those? They will work with me. But as far as like having an audit plan, you don't really get that. It's based on the work that's being won by your team. You um, win some let's say like FISCAM work or financial statement work. That's what you're gonna be on. If they win some SOC 1 type 2 or some um, PCI DSS work, that's what you're gonna be on. So there's no like a particular plan per se.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for
No
that.
problem.
Question.
You had a question? Can you ask your question, please? What's your question?
Yeah, my question is basically the auditing task will be a group task. I mean, the department do these things. I mean, the senior auditor or the section does these things. So we as associate or audit officers, are we part of the planning team? Is it a planning task?
For, for putting together the audit plan for the year?
Yes.
Yeah, normally associates, you don't really play a role in that. Normally it's like managers and directors, and sometimes seniors will be involved in putting together the plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Once the plan is finalized, they distribute it to the whole team, and the whole team is made aware of what's being tested when. Yeah. Yeah, but it's just for your awareness to know like what the plan is for. But you guys wouldn't be responsible for putting together the plan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh-huh. No problem. All right, let's go to attestation engagement. So normally attestation engagement is also it's also a form of what we call an external audit, in the sense that it's done by an independent um, auditor like a CPA firm. And normally attestation engagement is done for companies that are known as service organization, in the sense that they provide software as a service product. Okay, and the objective of performing attestation engagement is to pretty much attest or confirm whether like the what we call internal controls slash IT controls, these softwares that they're providing as product, whether those are operating effectively. Meaning that if QuickBooks is providing services to businesses to process process their payroll for their employees, QuickBook has to be able to attest that, hey, by the way, the controls within my product can be trusted, and you can trust that I will protect your information, and also you can trust that I am in compliance with all the rules and regulations. So that's the objective of doing attestation engagement. And there are two types of attestation engagement. Okay, we have what we call a SOC audit, which is service organization control audit. And then we have what we call PCI DSS. Okay, PCI DSS focuses more around companies that processes credit card holder data, meaning like credit card companies and things like that. Service organization control audit, also known as SOC audit, sorry, focuses more on companies that provide software as a service product. Any question on that? We'll get more into details as we go through the course on how we execute these various audits. So that's pretty much it with the notes. Any question before we go over the homework? So for the next few minutes, let's just quickly go over the week 2 homework. All right. So far for those who've submitted, the average right now is 15.6 over 27. Um, Not bad. There were areas, I think we covered them today, but there were areas that a lot of people were having trouble with just based on the questions. One of them being like um, bit of an internal audit plan or understanding the different type of. I'm hoping that by today's review session, questions could hopefully get answered so you understand it. So, in your own words, define IT audit. One person said that it is the processing of safeguarding the assets of a company through meeting the company's objective with better risk management techniques, operational control, operational process, and testing activities with strict follow-ups of frameworks. Can you guys tell me if this is right or wrong? What you understand of what IT audit is? On somebody. I'll pick on Andrew. Are you there or are you sleeping? Andrew's probably sleeping. On somebody. Let's pick on Kellen. Kellen, based on your understanding of what um, audit is, can you help us answer this question?
Sure. Based on my understanding of what an IT audit is, it is basically companies like reviewing companies' a company IT infrastructure about their policies and their what's the word I want to use? Like their policies and procedures.
For with what objective?
um, to mitigate risk.
Okay. All right, let's see. I think I saw one that I liked. Okay, this one was one that I liked. So one person said that it's an independent examination and review of collected evidence in order to find out if the information system can safeguard assets, maintain data integrity, and are meeting the business objective and are in compliance with application policy and procedures. This is a good definition of what IT audit is. So IT audit is just it's not just making sure that companies are able to mitigate their risk. It's more than that, okay? So when you talk about IT audit, you want to talk about you want to focus on can they safeguard their asset? Is the system able to maintain data integrity? Are they able to meet their business objective? And lastly, are they in compliance with rules and regulations? Okay? For systems audited by IT auditors, PeopleSoft, ADP, SAP, Deltek, CostPoint. For the most part, I think most people got this one right. Actually, everybody got this one right. All right. What are the categories and classes of IT audit project? Um, Internal audit, financial statement audit, and attestation engagement. This is the correct answer. In some cases, I saw people say SOX, A123, operational compliance, audit readiness. This is the types of internal audit project, okay? When you talk about the categories, think of it as like the bigger umbrella that these small projects fall under. Any question on that? Why is IT audit performed as part of, sorry?
First one, the first question, categories. Just answer in a way, publicly owned companies and as well as federally operating companies. So the federally operating, they use a framework of FISAC, and whereas the trading companies or the private or public owned companies using the COVID framework. So can that be answer for this kind of question? I mean, from category wise.
No, it wouldn't be because when you start talking about frameworks and stuff like that, you're talking about the particular project. The question is, what are the categories or classes of IT audit project? Think of it, another way to word the question is, what are the different groups that the IT audit project fall under?
Can you go back to that question if you don't mind? Okay. All right. Never mind. Thank you.
So then when you talk about the categories or classes, you're talking about these three different groups. Okay? And then under these different groups, the various project, they use different frameworks for execution.
Makes sense.
No problem. Why is IT audit performed as part of financial statement audit? Courtney, why is Courtney's mic is connected? I'll use someone else. Messy, why is IT audit performed as part of financial statement audit?
Um, the audit is performed as a financial audit. Well, as part of, right? As part of financial audit, because the financial audit group to know that the controls are reliable and effective, and it saves them time and also saves budget, I guess.
Okay. Anybody else wants to answer that?
I don't know if this is right or not, but I did some like to see if the controls of the organization are effective, and also statements could be relied upon to generate an accurate financial statement.
Yep, that's the answer that I was looking for. Type of project is mainly performed by IT auditors working in internal audit department. So now this is where we're talking about the audits that falls under the bigger umbrella of internal audit. So you're looking at SOX, operational audit, compliance audit, audit readiness, FISMA, et cetera, et cetera. For the most part, I think most people got this one right. Which of the following are examples of attestation engagement? So which of the following are examples of attestation engagement? Brittany, you want to take this one? It's probably away. I will do Sylvia. Sylvia, you want to answer this one?
So it's the payment card, industry data security assessment, and the service organization control audit.
Yep, that's right. Give 4 examples of SaaS product. We have.
Wait, I'm sorry. Was I supposed to answer a question? I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll give you another one.
Okay, cool.
Give 4 examples of SaaS products. We have QuickBooks, Track, 1099, Bill.com, Financial Force. So pretty much any of the products that we have on here, SaaS product, you could have listed any of these. What are the key component of an internal audit plan? You want to take this one?
Yes. So the key component of an internal audit plan, it contains all the type of audit projects the internal audit department to execute during a year, like the period and priority based on risk assessment of the activities considered for the audit and resources needed for the audit.
Go Brittany.
Hey, hold up. Are you reading?
I'm
Are you reading
Reading.
from a
in my
book?
reading. No, these are
Good
my
job.
notes.
That
These are
was
my notes. These are just my notes. Yeah.
that was spot on. Yeah, that's what it is. Like when you talk about playing, you talk
Tired.
about
Tired? No, not yet, not yet.
Good job. That was a good answer.
Thank you.
Um, which of the following framework is used to perform SOX audit? Everybody got this one right, so that was good. COVID. COVID is the framework used to perform SOX audit. However, what is the framework used to perform A123 audit? I will ask Phil, what is the framework that's used to perform A123 audit? Probably sleeping. Let's
Yes,
Abdul,
yes,
you
yes.
want to answer this?
I'm here. I'm here. A123 would be uh, I had it.
What is the opposite of what is the federal
Uh,
um
is it? It's not SOX. It's FISMA.
FISMA is not a framework. It's you're
Oh,
close.
that's a project. Oh, oh, geez, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
Abdul,
I
read
know.
your
I
notes. Read your
know. I
notes.
know. I
Read your
know.
notes.
Oh, dang! And we just went over it. Oh man, I'm blanking out.
Somebody wants to help
Co-
Abdul.
uh, uh, the 123 audit.
You want me to say?
Hey, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Is it FizCam?
Yep, FISCAM is the
Fist
framework that
cam.
we use.
What was
Damn.
it?
Yeah, and A123 audit
The
is
project.
the
Okay, okay.
equivalent of SOX on the federal side.
Uh, and I got that answer right too. Damn.
I know. Makes me wonder.
Oh, like it's different when you gotta say it than when you just like, you know what? I'm answering questions. Yeah. But yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah. The last question is name a benefit of outsourcing a business function to a SaaS provider.
Can I get redemption here?
Go ahead.
Well, you don't have to deal with the cost of maintenance and upkeep of that product or service that you're requiring.
Yep. And also it saves you time, right? Because imagine like if you own an application and you have to maintain it, that means that you will need a bigger IT team to be able to maintain the application versus like if someone else is doing all the maintenance, all you have to do is use it. So it saves you the resource and also saves you money because you would have to pay people to actually maintain that application. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Um, Pretty much done. Other than that, do you guys have any questions on the um introduction section? Or if does everyone feel confident? So the objective of this introduction was to just get you guys familiar with the terms of the project before we start diving into how each one of them. Um, Class will be a very heavy one, so please come prepared. Bring snacks to stay awake because we will start talking about the IT audit process. How do we execute the project? So it will help you to read ahead. Um, we made the notes available. Let's see. Let me go back. So the notes and example files are already available. In class, I wanted to assign the project as homework, but we're gonna do these projects in class, kind of get a more hands-on on how to fill out some of these templates that you will be working with. Also, we will be assigning them as homework too as well. We have a lot to cover next class. So if you have any questions relating to the IT audit introduction, do let me know now so that we can cover all of those while we still have time to. But if not, and everyone feels good about it,
Okay, so what was the question that Brittany answered? Is it what are the key components of internal audit plan? Was that it? I think that's
yes.
okay, can you go over that again, please?
Or the key component of an internal audit plan.
Like I mean, yeah.
Component of an internal audit plan, it's pretty much it's a document that contains the all the types of projects that will be covered or executed during a year, and it also should include period meaning like the quarter in which it's going to be done, priority based on the risk assessment that will be done, the risk based on the risk assessment, and also it contains resources needed to do the work or hours needed to perform the work. This area here covers all the key component of an internal audit plan.
Oh,
Question on this question, can we say like the internal audit key parts like initial meeting, I mean the meeting part, the announcement part, and the if possible the field visit or site visit or client visit, are these also considered as key activities on the internal audit stage? Can we say that?
No, because like so with internal audit, you don't do any client visit because you're auditing your own company.
Yeah. Okay.
External audit, I think you're confusing internal audit with the external audit. External audit on the other hand, that's where we do client visit because remember external audit is done by an independent audit body, meaning like if you're hired by maybe like a Deloitte and KPMG wants to do audit for Google, for example, they're gonna go site visit at Google.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? But with internal audit, it's a bit different because you're auditing your own company. So the department that you're auditing might be even sitting next to you, or if they might be sitting on the second floor upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very clear.
Any other question?
Question about